Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 4th January 2016. The first article is about two takes on democracy. Before going into this, let me say one thing. I'm standing outside, so there's a lot of traffic disturbance. You need to bear me for the next 15 minutes and have some patience today. So, in this case, we'll be discussing about the section 123 subclause 3 of the Representation of Peoples Act. What is the Supreme Court interpretation of the word his in this particular section? And then we will talk about what are the reasons for this judgment and counter arguments for the same. Here, section 123 subclause 3 clearly states that an appeal by a candidate or his agents for people to vote or refrain from voting on the basis of his, remember the word, his religion, caste, community, etc., race, etc., that tantamounts to corruption. So in this case, what is the meaning of this word his? Does this his refers to the religion of the voter, or does that his represents the caste, religion, community, language of the contesting candidate? This was the conflict in a nutshell. Now, in a layman terms, if I ask the people to vote by stating my caste, that is, I belong to this caste or religion, so vote me. That is, taking the reference to the caste of the contesting candidate. On the other side, all the XYZ religion or caste shall vote for me. It is taking the reference by that candidate to the voter's caste, religion, language, etc. So, in this context, his refers to the voter's religion, caste, or just the candidate's religion, caste, language, race, or region. This is what is the case before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has given a broad interpretation to this word his and stated that it implies both the voter's religion, caste, region, race, and also the contestant's caste, race, religion. It means that a contestant shall not refer to his caste or shall not ask for the voters based on their caste or religion to vote in this election. It is as simple as that. So, in this case, what are the arguments of the Supreme Court? What are the reasons given by the Supreme Court? Now, in public life, every individual shall be informed, reasoned, and rational. But the religion, caste, language, all these are not based on rationality, but these are mostly emotive factors. So the public life of his individual shall be separated from these emotive factors. And next is, the democracy can be sustained in the long run only when all the citizens have certain established notions or agreements on essential basics that hold them together. If you see the caste, religion, race, these are more divisive rather than a glue holding the people together. And the third thing is, the secularism is explicitly stated in our constitution. From these factors, we can say that the caste religion has to be separated from the electoral practice, which has to be essentially secular. These are the reasons given by the Supreme Court in favor of the broad interpretation of article, that is section 123 subclause 3 of the Representation of Peoples Act. What are the counter arguments to this? Historically, Indian society, it has its roots in this religion and caste, and these are the major factors for deprivation for certain individuals and groups in this country. The democracy has provided for the salience for these groups to demand for their share in the social and economic life of this country. So, political mobilization is an important instrument to empower the citizens, to make the citizens to demand for justice, equality, etc. So, a law of a country, it has to be invariably based in the context of the country. So the historical context of the country, if it is deprived from the law and the law loses its irrelevance, based on this, The caste, now if you take Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the Scheduled Caste Federation which he has established is more a political mobilization tool. So in this, these opportunities will be deprived for the marginalized sections. The deprivation based on the caste will not be a part of the political discourse and agenda because of broader interpretation of the word his in the section 123 subclause 3 of the Representation of Peoples Act. That is the other side of the argument. Now, coming to a nudge for the borrowers, let us see this article. Now, in this case, the SBI has decreased its interest rates. Today, the interest rates of the banks are based on marginal cost of the funds. What do you mean by this marginal cost of funds based lending rate? At what cost you are receiving the funds? That will determine at what cost you will be lending to the customer. So if the marginal cost of lending rate, or else if the costs of borrowing are higher, the lending rates also becomes higher. If they become cheaper, it also becomes cheaper. This provides for greater continuity and transfer of monetary policy benefits to the borrowers of the money. So, why the SBI has to take this decision? The first thing is the deposits have increased. So these deposits are the liabilities of the bank. It means bank has to pay them. Unless it creates the assets, it means in the form of the loans given to the people, this liabilities cost is going to become huge. And already due to the NPAs, the profitability of the banks have decreased. As quick as possible, if they do not increase the lending or rate, or sorry, if they do not increase the credits outside, there will be a huge loss to the bank. So that's why this decision has been taken. So because of this decision, as a wider economic perspective, the consumer demand shall get boosted. And the second, it might bring in the greater growth in the economy. So, but if this do not happen, then the government has to go for fiscal stimulus to revive the economy which has gone dull after the demonetization. Now, on the perspective page, there are no much important articles today. Death of a naturalist. So, it is about Mr. Peter Jackson, who is responsible for the Project Tiger, launch of the Project Tiger in India, has passed away in England last week. So, that's what is this article is about by J. Ram Ramesh. And then coming to Scientific Connect. There are certain important points which Prime Minister Modi has spoken at International Science Congress. These things include India has to build something called as hub and spoke model for establishing the laboratories. Now, certain institutions, let's take Indian Institute of Science as a laboratory, and establishing the similar laboratory across Bangalore in every college may be difficult. But however, the access to this is very much limited for the outsiders. So why can't we establish a laboratory which can be accessed by all the people, all the scientific community of the Bangalore, and then they can do the research in that particular laboratory. This will be cost effective and it also increases the access to the people. That is what is called hub and spoke model. It means small low cost laboratories will be spread across the country and they will be merged onto a one tertiary laboratory where the costly and expensive equipment will be placed. This is what he spoke about. And he spoke about public private partnership. And the third thing is scientific social responsibility. In this case, as unlike the corporate social responsibility, the research in India has to be driven towards solving the problems of the common man. This public-private partnerships, this hub, the expensive laboratories will be established in a public-private partnership by the government. So these are the things which Prime Minister Modi spoke at the International Science Congress. And coming to the Cold War between Russia and United States of America. Now, if you see the military strength or military budgets, the Russia is nowhere a match to the United States of America today. But however, the existing Russian military strength itself is sufficient to destruct the entire world as many times as possible. After the breakdown of the USSR, the world has moved more towards an unipolar structure. In this case, the recent events they show that the resurgence of Russia and what are the events that have led to a new conflict. Now, the first thing which India has the significance is related to the Afghanistan. Pakistan, China and Russia and also Iran, these are having the channels to negotiate with Taliban and they are keeping them alive. One way the United States is fighting against the Taliban and Russia is maintaining its links with the Taliban. And Russia, China, Pakistan coming together and Iran also joining this have a grave signals for India. And coming to Syria, the US has supported the rebels and Russia has supported the Assad regime. Now, once the East Aleppo is already into the Assad's hands, it is complete with the defeat of the rebels and it has taken away all the choices United States has in the in the Syria civil war. And third is Georgia and Ukraine. So in the Georgia there is a region called South Ossetia and then in the Ukraine Crimea. So the Crimea is annexed and the South Ossetia is also under the control of the Russia. So these are again the Georgia and Ukraine, the regimes are friendly to the NATO forces or else these are friendly to United States of America indirectly. So Crimea annexation by Russia and then the South Ossetia and forces in South Ossetia, these are also a major bone of conflict between these two. And the recent hack of Democratic Party servers to influence the elections of the United States of America, this is another major thing. So what we can say over here is the Democratic Party, the interference with the democracy of United States has led to the expulsion of 35 diplomats of Russia by the President Obama and also worsening of the sanctions against Russia. All these are giving rise to a new Cold War era in the international politics. These are the articles for today. And then I have prepared the notes, 2 takes on democracy. Just go through these questions and practice them before the mirror if you are going for interview. If not, just start on thinking them and develop your perspective. And try to answer the question which was given at the end. Today I will be correcting these questions. Thank you very much and all the best.